We got big news this week, right? So your book, Turnaround, How to Change Course When Things Are Going South, was just released. It's officially an Amazon bestseller. So that's super exciting. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about it? Let's just start there.
I'm feeling relieved. And I know that's a very strange thing to say, but as you know, you go through all of this effort, you put your heart and soul into it, and you just wonder if anybody's going to read it.
What is a turnaround? Why don't we start there, right? And then what inspired you to write the book?
Well, in my career, turnarounds have been these intractable problems that people tried to resolve repeatedly. They would bring in the experts and they would bring in people that they thought would have the experience, and the thing just continued to churn. And so normally for me, I get called in at the very last minute where they're making a decision. Do we end of life this thing? Do we put it to bed? Or is there just one more opportunity to see if we can make it into what we wanted it to be? The reality is, my process of simplification is really applicable to any situation. And it doesn't matter if you're a church, if you are a not-for-profit, if you're a small government program, if you're a big government program, or if you're a Fortune 100 company, all the principles still apply.
Right. Why doesn't money solve turnarounds by itself, right? Why can't I throw money at my problems?
I've been brought in by a lot of billionaires and CEOs and individuals who have had the resources and the financial means to throw money at the problem. And as I tell people, I actually do better when I have to work my way out of a box, because when you're in a box, you're automatically constrained. And what constraints do to you is they cause you to have an unbelievable level of creativity. When you are constrained, you are forced to partner. They're not forced to partner. Well, what does partnering do? It makes you align your resources. It makes you cooperate with other people. It brings more people together towards a common goal, but you also have to subjugate sometimes your opinions to other people's opinions. It's one reason they like throwing money at the problem in the first place, because they didn't want to do that. Partnerships truly, I believe, are the name of the game out of the pandemic. It's always been the way to grow and accelerate your innovation and your impact at a far greater pace. There's so many opportunities to expand your relationships far more quickly, but also expand your horizons about what is possible. And if you're thinking about what are our objectives, how creative do we want to be, you don't want to go find people just like yourself. But what you do want to find is people who share the same operational values that you have.
What do you do to help the whole cohort, let's call them, evangelize your goal?
That people like to see relationships that are dynamic, people who are applauding each other.
But how do you go about letting people go? What do you do for them so that they feel valued when you're essentially telling them they don't have a job anymore?
Which is the piece about heart, because it really re-emphasized for me that when you make decisions, they have impacts on people. And it's very difficult to make those hard decisions, and you have to make them. But at the same time, the way in which you treat people is so critically important. I know with a really big company, I think EEO rules have made it really hard for us to be just normal, nice people anymore. It's a very harsh legal environment out there, but at the same time, the way in which you treat people after they've gone, even if you have to follow a set of rules within a Fortune 500, they're still out there. It's not like you don't have to talk to them anymore. You could actually refer them for jobs. You can actually reach out and find out how they're doing. Just because they're no longer in your hallways, they didn't disappear off the planet. We're not talking about Marvel comic books, but there's a point in the institution where it does need to formalize. It cannot grow. It cannot double in size until it has systems and processes and governance that is part of that institution.
And so, what can you do emotionally to avoid that panic when you realize, like, we might be on life support, we might be done,
when you
right?
Walk in the door and you introduce yourself, you're going to tell those people exactly what's going to happen. And it's not going to be the happiest news they've ever gotten in their lives. Understand what their concerns are, and they need to know them at a human level. You can't dehumanize everything. And if everything with you is always formalized, how are they going to feel confident coming in and telling you when they have a problem? It's human nature. So you want people to get to know you. And get to know your values, and your values have to be Your actions have to be based on fact. They have to be based on data, but the way in which you conduct yourself needs to be human.
If there's one takeaway that you think is the most important, what would it be?
Well, maybe it's because of the stage of life that I'm at right now, but it's end on a high note. You've accomplished so much in your life. And actually, even if you're in an organization and you're a young person and you've put in a good year and a half, 2 years in an organization, you've worked your butt off, but you no longer fit in the organization, end on a high point. You want to exit, you want to manage your exit. It's I think one of the most critical things from a mentor leadership standpoint that I communicate to very senior level people and junior level people is you go through all of this, you've gone through this turmoil, you have put your blood, sweat, and tears into this turnaround. End on a high note, leave with your head held high. You may choose to leave, or the turnaround may have resulted in a merger and your job went away, but you did a darn good job. And you can look back and see how that organization evolves.
Right. Like now that it's out there, what's your next goal?
Well, I've been overwhelmed by the response. I really have been. I believe we all have trepidation about this process and wondering if it's going to do well or if it's not going to do well. You wonder if it's going to help people. I mean, one reason I wrote the book is I want to help people. And so I've just been, from some people who got to read the book in advance, the comments I was getting about people going, hey, I used your book yesterday in a meeting. I was so happy. I read chapter 3. It's like, yes, it helps. So, I'm just thrilled to death that we've managed to hit a point. And again, sometimes it's timing. We're bringing out a book which is accessible, easy to read, understandable, and I hope warm in nature when people are feeling as if they've lost all control. And I really want to give people back control. I believe in this amazing nation that we are part of. And if there is anything about the book that helps people join together to bring us out of this pandemic, I know it sounds very Pollyannish, but that's what overwhelms me. I mean, last night when you called me and told me how well the book was doing, I burst into tears. I was truly overwhelmed because there was so much emotion tied up in what I hope to accomplish. The next generation of leaders are so critical to the future of our nation, to the future of democracy. And I believe very strongly that if I can help people move more quickly up the ladder, who are good people, who have good ideas, who are committed and dedicated, that's what I want to do.
Anybody who's watching this video, once we post it on LinkedIn, go check it out. It's on Amazon right now. It's on Barnes & Noble. The hard copy is beautiful.